question I've had to ask myself almost every single time there is a so-called protest in the name of quote-unquote black or brown people's rights. And that question is this: why do black and brown people, I'm generalizing here, so, give me a second, why do certain demographics of individuals coming from these specific communities love to steal every time a protest comes up? It's one thing to, throw Mazel Tov cocktails in the cars and set the cars on fire, set the buildings on fire, your own neighborhoods and your own stores and things of that nature. It's one thing to do that, right? But to run up in the Apple store, run up in, Target, run up in the malls, in the Gucci and the Louis Vuitton store in order to steal shit. What does that have to do with the quote unquote rights of the marginalized?
Well, that's a very easy question to answer. It is not the quote unquote, as you say, black and brown protesters that are out there looting stores, running up into Gucci and to Walmart and Target and all these other places that you mentioned. It's not the black and brown protesters that are doing that. It's the black and brown opportunists who are doing that. The criminal elements of those communities are the ones who are running up in them stores doing it. And I venture to believe that you already know that. But see, you're trying to blanket all of the black protesters and all of the Hispanic protesters in a bad light. It's not the protesters themselves that are doing, it's the criminal aspect, the criminal individuals of those communities that are doing it. But it's not only black and brown people that are running up in stores, it's white people too. And I see that you failed to mention white people who run up in stores and loot as well. So let me go ahead and show you what I mean, Kuhn.
Well, Mark, earlier today, authorities said they take the use of tear gas very seriously. It's been a while since they last used it in Spokane, actually. And as other authorities have emphasized, they said that this one group that was causing trouble and looting was very small, didn't represent all of the protesters yesterday. However, of those looters, they did say they gave them several warnings to leave the area, which they didn't do. That moment when everything changed. After people began looting at the Nike store, police shot off tear gas. Witnesses said they saw people being hit with rubber bullets.
I just treated 6 people for tear gas bullets to their eyes. Cops fired handheld tear gas grenades at protesters, hitting them in some cases. I got one guy hit in the chest.
This morning, authorities across the city and the county emphasized that the smaller group that started to riot was different than the main group that was peacefully protesting earlier in the afternoon. But police said they had prepared for trouble in case it happened.
So we had intelligence even before the event started that we were going to have some antagonists coming into the area with the intent of provoking law enforcement into a confrontation.
That prompted police to plan and have a bigger presence in downtown Spokane, Chief Craig Meidel says. SPD anticipated a group experienced in causing riots to show up, he said, noting that Antifa were present. Some officers were hit with rocks. One group had bats and clubs, Meidel says. But when rogue instigators began to break windows and loot, police changed their tactics.
So at that point, we're willing to give them a certain amount of latitude. When you want to start damaging property or hurting people, that's where your latitude ends.
SPD says using tear gas in the city is very rare, but they have an obligation to protect property. And last night, Meidel says people were warned to leave the area when things got violent. Picking out specific instigators in a crowd is hard, the chief said, and added that they take the use of tear gas seriously.
We're going to give you plenty and ample opportunity to leave. We're not just going to fire tear gas or anything else. We're going to tell you, you need to leave.
So, Aquarius Wave, the riot that you just saw and the looting of that store, that was in Spokane, Washington, a predominantly white area led by Antifa. And we all know Antifa is a white gang predominantly. And so when you talk about black and brown people being violent, you must also include white people as well. As much as you don't want to, as much as it's going to hurt your fan base and it might hit your bottom dollar, white people loot too. White people are violent too. White people steal too. White people protest as well. But anyway, guys, I want to thank you all for coming back to the Black Only News and Entertainment Network. Peace, take care, and be safe.